All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the James Torrillo Show. This is the first episode since the rebrand. If you're kind of wondering, what's going on, this is like a new name or something. This used to be JT Talks LA. This was a podcast for the Dodgers, Lakers, and Rams. It is now the James Torrillo Show. And today we have a very special guest. We have Alan Alford, UFL insider, also calls games live on assist for the Buccaneers. Alan, how are we doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking, James. Glad to be a part of the show. Thank you for having me now.
Of course, of course. So, speaking of the Bucks, Monday night, Baker Mayfield drives down the field, wins the game against Houston. How do we feel? How do we feel?
I thought the Bucks did an amazing job, and Baker, he got out of the pocket, made some great runs. It was just amazing for the Bucks to win now 2 weeks in a row, pretty much on the last drive. So I was ecstatic. Congratulations and go Bucks.
Of course, of course. Now, let me ask you this. I am a huge, huge Baker Mayfield fan. Have been since he was drafted, since he was in Oklahoma. Have been a huge Baker Mayfield fan pretty much his whole career. Do you think Baker Mayfield is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
At this particular time, yes, I do. I thought there was times where he flirted with it, and it was kind of up and down. But I think he's found his stride. Props to Baker Mayfield to kind of get his footing because, as you mentioned, he was maybe about a step or two almost being out of the league completely. He resurrected his career. I got to give him a lot of props, and I love what he's doing down in Tampa Bay.
And I especially love him because he really resurrected his career with my team, the LA Rams. We gave him a chance after he was released by Carolina. He lost his job there. We end up signing him for the rest of the year. It was the year after we won the Super Bowl. Our whole team was hurt. Not a great season, but the one good thing about it was that I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy, and it was something to watch because, he's one of my favorite players, and everybody got hurt that year. Stafford was hurt, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, you name it, they were probably hurt. I think that year we had I think we set a record for, this might not be the exact number, there was like 11 different offensive line combinations, which was a record. And it's just like, that's not normal. So it was such a bad year, but to have him, even as much as I love Stafford, to have a guy to watch like Baker Mayfield was fun. So I'm sure you love having him on your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But let's talk a little bit more about the Buccaneers. You've been calling the games live on assist. I've been calling the games for the Rams. Do you think the Bucks are a serious contender in the NFC this year?
I do. I do think they're a serious contender. I love their start. They did have some challenges already this year, and that's a testament of a team. If you can really win these close games, that's going to really propel you to the next level. I really love what the Bucks are doing. I do think they're a team that you have to watch out for. Some other people have already put them as a team that's a playoff contender. I put them up there too.
I think they win that division easily. I don't see any other team in that division giving Baker Mayfield and the Bucks a shot or a run for their money. No.
You always got to watch out for New Orleans. They're a team that you can kind of forget about, but they always seem to give the Bucks the most trouble, and they're in the division, so that is always a big game. I think if they can get past New Orleans, I think they'll have a great shot of winning the division again, 5 years in a row too.
Do you think New Orleans has a better chance to beat the Bucks out than Atlanta does?
I do. I just think
Really?
that they just match up well. New Orleans is one of those teams that you kind of forget about them a little bit because they don't have Drew Brees and stuff, but they always seem to give the Bucks trouble, even more so than Atlanta. And if they can get past the New Orleans Saints, I do think they're in smooth sailing to win this division.
And it looks like they're off to a pretty good start because New Orleans is 0-2 and Tampa Bay is 2-0. So it's only been 2 weeks, but you're 2 games ahead already. Couldn't really be any better of a start. And 2 game-winning drives from Baker Mayfield. So you really couldn't script it any better if you're a Bucks fan. But for my team, we've got the Eagles this week. So this is our biggest test of the season. I'm in Hamilton, New Jersey, so I'm in Eagles territory. So all my friends, or most of my friends at least I should say, are Eagles fans or Philadelphia fans of some sort. This is such a big game even if it weren't for us losing in the playoffs to them last year, or even if it wasn't for arguably the two best teams in the NFC, the Rams and the Eagles, you could argue that. it's just always been such an important game to me because I can't stomach losing to them because then I have to hear from all my friends because I'm the only Rams fan around here. So I think it's probably the biggest game of the season for us because I think if you look at it a few months from now, I think the top three teams are going to be the Rams and Eagles. And you're going to look at this game and say, oh, well, the Rams are going to be the one seed because they upset the Eagles in Philly. Or you're going to say the Eagles are smooth sailing for the one seed because they took down the Rams. They can take down the Packers. They can take down the Bucks, any of those teams. Who do you have in the link this week? Rams, Eagles.
It's a tough game, and I know that's your team. I still got to think, I still got to go with the Eagles right now. They're just playing that good of football, and I think they're still riding that high. What I love about the Eagles more than anything is that I don't see them having any complacency from last year. You would normally see that when guys get a ring, especially as nice that ring was,
Yeah.
that they would kind of take a year off or I don't see that with them. I think they're driven, they're focused, and I hate to say that. I have a hard time saying that the Rams will win. I got the Eagles going and winning this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I think the Rams are going to have an easy win on Sunday. I'm not even saying I think they're going to win. At the beginning of the year, I actually predicted, I made when this podcast was still JT Talks LA, I made a quick episode. It was just myself predicting the Rams schedule. And I actually had the Rams losing this game, but my hot take was that the Rams lose week 3 to the Eagles, and then they play them in the NFC Championship in Philly, and they beat them. So if that's what it takes, I mean, I'm completely fine with that. But of course, anybody would take their team winning the NFC Championship. Who do the Bucks have this week?
The Bucks have the Jets, and
Okay.
it's the old school creamsicle home opener too.
Oh,
So
that's right. I
yeah,
love those jerseys, and they're the white ones now, right? The
yeah,
white
the
creamsicle
white and
ones.
cream. I love
Those are so
that
nice.
jersey. Believe it or not, I mean, it's kind of a weird combination. I know most people wouldn't think, but to me, it's my favorite jersey that the Bucks have. Ironically, I like it better than the jersey that they normally wear most of the time.
Yeah, I think most Bucks fans would agree with you on that. I feel like they're creamsicle jerseys, and then now the white creamsicle ones. I think those could easily just be their regular uniforms.
Yeah, I think so too. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring it back permanently. I would love that. It's just a cool uniform, unique, and it's one of the things that you just don't see. And props to the Bucks, and props to whoever created that idea for the
Yeah,
creamsicle jersey.
yeah. No, those are beautiful. I think they're like the 1976 jerseys. I think that's the year
Yes,
of
that's right.
that they're
1976.
supposed to honor.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are so nice. And I'm a huge jersey guy, as you can see from all my jerseys right here, but I normally just collect jerseys of my teams. I'm thinking about getting a Baker Mayfield creamsicle jersey because I'm such a big Baker Mayfield fan, and the creamsicle jerseys, you can't go wrong. They're so nice.
Definitely, you
They're
should get it. You can't go wrong with that. It's going to be beautiful, and I see you loving that jersey. You're getting it and cherishing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a huge jersey guy. I don't know how many jerseys I have. It's definitely way too much, but I
Yeah.
definitely have a lot more money if I didn't. You can see them right here. These are all Rams and Dodgers. I definitely have more money saved up if I wasn't such a big sports jersey guy. But speaking of jerseys, I also have my Dodgers jerseys here. I know you support the Tampa Bay Rays. Little 2020 World Series matchup here, but the Rays not expected to be some crazy contender this year, but do you have any hopes that they can turn things around in the next few years?
I do. They are now changing ownership, which is big. They just have to get the approval, which I don't see an issue with that. I do think the Rays have a good shot in Tampa. I really love them playing in Tampa. I hope the team stays in Tampa. And I think with new ownership and new direction, I do think the Rays can go ahead and get that World Series that they should have, in my opinion, should have won already by now.
Yeah. I thought if we want to take a trip down memory lane back in 2020, I thought when you guys stole game 4 from us, that walk-off, what is his name? Why am I forgetting it? The guy who walked it off in game 4. Gosh, can't remember his name. I remember Randy Arozarena scored, but I remember the walk-off, and I thought right there, the Rays are going to take this series. The momentum was all towards Tampa Bay. I thought for sure the Rays were going to win that series. Somehow the Dodgers win the next two, but then also in 2008, you have the Phillies and Rays. That's a series that just, it seemed like, and I'm not trying to pour salt into the wound here, but I think that's a series that kind of the Rays just never looked like they were really in that series. But 2020, they really made a name for themselves. They almost took down the Dodgers. That could have gone either way. And who knows? Game 6, Blake Snell gets taken out. I mean, now he's a Dodger. It's just there's so many things that could have gone the other way. Now the Rays don't have a ring, but in a few years things could change. I think they're always a franchise that I've respected because they're in a division with a bunch of big market teams. You got the Yankees, you got the Red Sox, Orioles, Blue Jays, and they're always competing. Whether they're trying to compete for a wild card spot, whether they're trying to compete for the division, they're one of those teams that always flies under the radar, and they're never like terrible. They're never a team that loses like 100 games, I feel like. They're always in the mix. I don't know if you would agree with me on that.
I would totally agree on that. They always put up a competitive team. They've actually won the division a few times, and they're a team that young talent, and just goes to show you if you get the right people in your system, you can go deep. Sometimes it's not always about just the payroll. I respect what the Rays have done. They put up competitive teams for quite some time. They're not in the mix this year, but I could see that changing with new ownership. And you're right, to your point. 2008, they really should have won that World Series.
Yeah,
That's hurt more than 2020, believe it or not.
really.
You had such a great team and such a great opportunity. I think they got a little bit. The spotlight may have been a little too bright that time because they were in the spotlight for a while, and I think it kind of got caught up. They should have really won that 2008 World Series.
Yeah, 100%. You have the Bucks now have two. The Rays still looking for their first. But I don't know, how big are you into hockey? You a Lightning guy?
I like hockey. I love Lightning. They definitely got a great team too. That's another team I'm blessed. I'm in a place where most of the time we have a competitive team in almost all sports, and the Lightning have been doing great things. I see them going deep this year again too.
Yeah, I mean, the Lightning are always in the thick of things in the NHL, always. And that's why Tampa Bay got its nickname Champa Bay just about 5 years ago when the Rays were in the World Series, the Bucks were in the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and the Lightning had won back-to-back cups in 2020 and 2021. So that was, I mean, you can talk more about that if you'd like. I mean, I'm sure that was a great time to be a Tampa Bay sports fan.
It is. I mean, definitely that time you had Tom Brady, you had the Lightning doing their thing. The Rays were actually even more competitive that time too. It was a great time. I know that doesn't happen every year, but you kind of get spoiled a little bit when your team is doing well as those teams have. Props to the Lightning winning the two back to back, and I definitely hope they come back. And Derek Brooks, he's a big fan of the Lightning, and so is a lot of the Bucks fans, the Bucks players.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the Bucks players, they support the Lightning, and keep your eyes open. A lot of times they show up at Rays games too.
That's sick. That's sick. And I mean, the Rays with their whole situation right now with where they're playing, I mean, whether or not they're going to move out of Tampa Bay is a completely different discussion. Obviously, we don't want them to, but with the whole new stadium, would you like to see a new stadium be built? Would you like to see them stay in the Trop? Like, what's the whole deal with the stadium situation with the Rays?
They still trying to find a location. What the new ownership team is saying is that they do want to have it in Tampa. There's about 5 spots that they are kind of debating on, checking logistically which one is going to be the winner. But I definitely do think they stumble across something great, James, to have it in Tampa. I just think that logistically it's much more difficult for people to go to St. Pete. I love the vibe that you're getting from people when it has been in Tampa playing in George Steinbrenner Field. So I do hope that the new ownership does find the right location and has it in Tampa. For me, they don't have to have a brand new stadium. I know that's a huge mega expense. As long as they stay somewhere in Tampa, that's logistically a good spot. Hopefully closer to Ybor, then I would be, or in Ybor, I'd be more than happy with that.
Yeah. And one thing that I noticed this year that I thought was pretty cool, the Rays playing outdoors. I thought that was pretty sick because their name is the Rays, whether you want to talk about like the animal or like a sun ray. If you have a sun ray as your alternate logo, but you're not playing out in the sun, like what the heck is going on? You're playing in a dome? I always thought that was so funny, but I thought it was pretty cool, even though it was the Yankees spring training field, whatever. But I thought it was pretty cool. And if they can build a new stadium outdoors, I think that would be great for the organization.
Yes, I do think so too. The fact that they played the games at night, more like 7 o'clock at night to make it easier for the fans with the heat, I thought was genius. And I really love what the Rays have been doing as far as playing in George Steinbrenner Field. That is a really nice field, by the way. If you haven't been there, go to George Steinbrenner Field. It is a minor league field, but man, it's first class. And I think that it's something that the fact that they made the games later is a good thing. I love the fact that they did have most of the games during the week at night. I think that was a great thing too. Shout out to the fan man. He's a big friend of mine who I do a lot of his bookings. But the Rays, I love what they're doing. I love what new ownership. I think they can go to that next level and get that championship.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to see that happen. I always have had, like, for most teams that have not won a championship, I always have like a soft spot. Like, I want them to get their first one. The Rays are one of those teams. You know what I mean? Like, I always, of course, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I was rooting for them in 2020 against my Dodgers. But if it was any other team, I probably would have been rooting for them. You know what I mean? I would always pull for the team that has not won a championship. Shout out to the Rays. And the Bucks, I think, improved to 3-0 this week against the Jets. So it's a good time to be a Tampa Bay sports fan.
Absolutely, it is. It's a great time. You got the creamsicle jersey, home opener. Always great to have Tampa Bay Bucks. And I agree with you. I think they go 3-0 against the Jets. Unfortunately, the Rays won't be there making it this year, but next year things can change quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And the best part about the Bucks start to their season, not only are they 2-0, but they're 2-0 on the road, and they've won a game inside the division against Atlanta.
Yeah, those are two big wins. You're absolutely right, James. The first win, to win the way they did, and to get the second win to be 2-0 on the last minute drive. Shout out to Rashad White, the running back who got that 2-yard run. Who That's not easy to do in the NFL, especially when you know that's more than likely going to happen next, a run. Yes, so they could be 3-0. I expect them. That's a fantastic start for them to be 2-0 right now, and hoping to be 3-0. Shout out to the Bucks because I love what they're doing. They just gotta work on those kicks.
Yeah.
McLaughlin just got to get those kicks down, but I think they'll iron it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's gonna be a fun season for both of our teams, I think, for the Bucks and the
Absolutely,
Rams.
it's
I think
already
it's gonna be
starting
a
off
fun
great.
season. Yeah, it is starting off great. We're 4-0 combined.
Yeah,
But I think if you look at the NFC, you've got the Eagles, of course. You've got the Packers, you've got Detroit, and then I think you have the Rams and the Bucks. I would say that's the top 5 teams in the NFC. As much as I don't like to give the 49ers credit, I will say even though I don't think the Saints are going to be a great team, they beat the Saints this past week without George Kittle or Brock Purdy. So I will admit I don't think the Rams are going to have as much of a cakewalk to win the NFC West as I thought they did. I do think the 49ers are capable of being a playoff team. I do still think the Rams are the better team, but the 49ers could definitely be a playoff team. I think Seattle could be a playoff team. I think Arizona is right in the mix. The NFC is so tough. There's like 9 or 10 teams in the NFC that you could look at and I say, oh yeah, they'll be a playoff team, but only 7 of them are going to make it.
that's right. All those teams there are very, very good teams, and you cannot sleep on any of them. They can, and especially the 49ers, to your point, they always have a chance to, with the 49ers, to come on strong when you need it the most. That's the thing. Good, solid coaching, and you're right. That's even without Kittle. Hopefully he gets back soon. He's my fantasy football tight end.
Yeah, that's another thing that stinks about. Obviously, that's not the worst part about injuries, but that does stink. I mean, you have a lot of guys that have gotten hurt these past few weeks. I mean, Joe Burrow is going to be out for a few months. Not a fantasy guy, but Akello Witherspoon, cornerback for the Rams, he broke his collarbone. That's a huge loss for us. We actually signed Trey Brown, he's a corner. Not too familiar with him. I think he was like a fourth or fifth round pick a few years ago. He played for the Seahawks and Niners, but that's a big loss for us. And there's been a lot of injuries around the league. Justin Fields, he's not playing this week against the Bucks. JJ McCarthy, he's not playing. I mean, Justin Fields being out is also going to help the Bucks a lot, but I think the Bucks would have been pretty confident in winning that game no matter who was quarterback for the Jets, I feel like.
Absolutely. I think whoever's quarterback for the Jets, you have tough competition with the Bucks playing at home, creamsicle jersey.
Yes.
I think the Bucks are, they're gonna go up 3-0 is what I'm looking predicting.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Are you going to be calling the game live on assist?
Yeah, I will. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be calling the game and excited about doing it. The creamsicle jersey. And how has it been for you so far calling the games? How have you adjusted to that?
It's a lot of fun. I have more of a background of announcing baseball, so this was my first time actually announcing football, and I have really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed having, even if it's not like some crazy big, crowd that is watching live on assist, but I've really enjoyed it. And the one thing, and I think you would agree with me on this, is that it is hard announcing football by yourself. Like in baseball, it's hard to announce by yourself, but in football, after every single play, like if you watch a broadcast, you'll have like I was watching Chiefs Eagles this past week, and I like to take notes in my head on what these commentators say because you want to use it for your broadcasts, of course. And the main announcer, all right, Saquon Barkley, gain of 5, and then the color commentator Tom Brady, he always has like a comment to say after that about the play or a specific player. When you don't have a color commentator, you have to be both guys. So it's really difficult, especially when you're live on assist, the camera's on you, the camera's not on the game, so you're basically a radio announcer, so you don't have replays or stats popping up on the screen for you to read. It's hard.
You're right. It is challenging, and you be surprised how much you got to talk during the
Yeah.
broadcast. I was like,
Yeah.
next time, like game one, I was like, man, I got to make sure I get me a big jug of water because it's,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's fun.
It is.
It's been a lot of fun, and both of my games have been last minute drives, winning. So it's been exciting because you didn't know how it was going to play out. The first game was going along so like kind of easy going, not too crazy. In the last 2 minutes, this got absolutely crazy because you didn't know who was going to win or how it was going to end out.
Yeah. And that's a good team that you guys beat in week 2, the Texans. They're not an easy team to beat. They're 0-2, but the two teams that they lost to, Rams and Bucks, two series contenders in the NFC. That's not a team to overlook in the AFC either. I don't think they're on the same level as like the Bills or the Ravens or the Chiefs, but they're close to it. I think the Texans will win their division, and I think they're going to be a very good team this season. So, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is your background with the UFL. I've seen your Instagram. I don't know if anybody watching has seen Alan's Instagram. Of course, it's right down there. Go check it out. But um, you have interviewed several big names over the years, and one that stuck out to me was The Rock. Of course, I'm also a big WWE guy, so I'm a big fan of The Rock. But has there ever been like an interview that you've done with somebody that just really stuck out to you and has been really special to you?
They've been a lot of special ones, props on The Rock, the UFL, but I'd have to say King Griffey Jr. I interviewed him recently during during his event, and it stuck out to me because I'm like, man, this gentleman, I used to look up to and admire him, and before you know it, because of the opportunity on the Allen Alford Sports Talk show, it presented itself that I was able to interview him, and that was just fantastic. I would say Ken Griffey Jr. and the interview his dad too. Father and son, they were
Really?
both there at the event, and that was just special because just to get Ken Griffey Jr. himself, and then his dad was there, that was phenomenal. And HBCU Classic there in Atlanta, so that stuck out to me. That it came kind of like full circle that I got a
Yeah,
chance to be in front of Ken Griffey Jr.
that's incredible. And you also, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you uh, been in touch with Tom Brady as well?
Yeah, through the UFL, the nice thing was that I was able to, because he came down for the championship game, not this year, last year. And it was great that he came down to visit and support the UFL and give out the trophy. Because of my work and standing with the media, I was able to go ahead and meet Tom Brady, and that was outstanding. That I was able to go ahead and meet him. That was really kind of like, what I've learned, James, is that when you do something to help somebody else out, for some reason things will come full circle and you'll get an opportunity where you to help yourself out. I was
Yeah,
really trying to, help and facilitate one of the players in the UFL, Luis Perez, a quarterback, to kind of meet Tom Brady because that's his idol. He wears number 12, and it didn't work out. But for some reason, I think God put me in a position that I got a chance to meet Tom Brady. It's
that's
kind of
incredible.
weird.
That's incredible. And you're a UFL insider, so if I can ask, what does that look like? Like a day in the job of a UFL insider. Like take us through that.
Definitely, you're getting insight on press releases, things that are happening internally through the league, both good and bad. Guys getting, released, guys getting signed, some opportunities that are popping up. Maybe a coach is deciding to leave and they they decide to hire someone else. And those situations, being connected with the league as far as a lot of information of teams that are going to be sticking around, teams that are not going to be sticking around. And props to the UFL for trusting me with a lot of this information. But I try to get out as much as I possibly can to the fans and not overwhelm them sometimes.
Hmm.
But yes, and I've showed up to showcases too. They're doing that now, where if you want to join the UFL, you get a chance to try out and see if you get a chance to go and make the team. I've covered that as well. So I try to keep my hands on everything that is UFL, just because I think it's a league that a lot of people need to kind of support because it really can go far. There's a spot for the UFL. Hey, you see here, you have kickers in the NFL because of the fact of the UFL.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I think there's some former NFL players also in the UFL, correct?
Yeah, there is. You'll be surprised at how many former NFL players are in the UFL. Some have a lot of NFL experience, some have some, but there's a lot of players there that for the UFL that are awfully good players. Definitely, it's great talent, and it's fun league too. It's something that people should really watch and get a. I think when you get a chance to watch a couple of games, you'll fall in love with it too.
Yeah. I don't know if you're allowed to say this, but do you have a favorite player in the league?
There's several players. I gotta give it to my props to my guy Luis Perez. I always supporting him. I love his journey. I love his story. He wrote a book. You know, the King is the Spring King, the Spring King. That's what it's called. You can get it on Amazon. And he's my favorite player because I love his drive and his determination. The reason why the Spring King was resonated with me so much and Luis Perez and his story is if you read the book, you see how many times he gets kicked down, gets an opportunity taken away, or he gets an opportunity, something changes, and you get a chance to see how a player who wants to make it, how difficult it really is. Most of us would have probably just said, "Nah, I'm just giving it up." He kept sticking through, and he's still playing.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what team is he on in the UFL?
Arlington Renegades quarterback, and he did win the championship when it was called the XFL before they merged to the UFL too. So he's a
Nice.
champion too.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And this was the player that you said looked up to Tom Brady, wears number 12.
Yes, he wears number 12. He looks up to Tom Brady. I definitely hope Tom Brady sees this show, the James Torrillo show. You gotta reach out to my guy, Luis Perez. If anybody deserves to meet Tom Brady more than I do, it is
Yeah.
Luis Perez. And that's why I think God opened that door for me to meet Tom Brady, because I was hoping that Tom Brady would meet Luis Perez because they had a game. He played for the Rams. Tom Brady came down for, like, I guess, to check out the game. He was in your neck of the woods, and they didn't
Really?
meet. They didn't meet. But I've always hoped that Tom Brady would meet Luis Perez, the author of The Spring King. I think they would get along great. Both quarterbacks, both he wears number 12 because of Tom Brady, and I root for him that he gets his opportunity to meet Tom Brady. So if Tom Brady sees this, make sure you please, for me, reach out to Luis Perez and send him a jersey or something.
That's so cool. That's awesome. That's so cool. I've always been a huge fan of Tom Brady too because I'm a Michigan fan, and he went to Michigan. And when I was little, the Rams were never in the playoffs. When they were the St. Louis Rams, they were never in the playoffs. So I always had to pick, like, not bandwagon, but I was always pulling for a team in the playoffs because my team wasn't in it. And I would always pick Tom Brady. I would always pick the Patriots because I loved Brady, I loved Gronk, I loved Edelman, I loved all those guys. Even though they were all super hated and they were always the most hated team in the league, I was always a big fan of them. Tom Brady is also somebody that, like, when I'm in the gym, like I'm listening to like this there's this thing on Spotify of him, just like a motivational speech that he has, and he's like, F your tired body, F this, like you need to go up and do it anyway. And it really helps
See
because
it, yep.
he was such like a he's such a good person to motivate another. You know what I mean? And one of my favorite things he said was like when he runs out on the field and he says, "Let's effing go," like that kind of thing. Like he gets himself fired up and he has that mentality. It's like almost similar to like a Kobe Bryant mentality, Mamba mentality, if you will, like that kind of thing. Like he's always been one of the athletes I've looked up to. So Luis Perez, I don't blame you for that. That's a that's a great guy to look up to for sure.
Absolutely. And you're right. I've seen that speech, and it gives you an insight of why he's the GOAT. Like when most people would just say, you know what, let me take the day off, the night off, he keeps pushing and keeps going. And I love that. I love that. And you're great. You're right. Tom Brady can be a great motivational speaker. Props to Tom Brady because he's doing a great job with the broadcast too. He's improving. You see that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, and that's that's another thing. Like a lot of these guys when they retire, they go into the booth because this is, and I think you would obviously agree with me on this. This is fun. Like we're trying to do this for our careers, and like these guys that played, 10, 20 years in the NFL like Tom Brady, they're still doing this afterwards when they don't. Tom Brady doesn't need to be announcing or anything, but he wants to because being involved in the game of football or whatever sport this applies to, whoever you are, it's fun. And to be able to do something like that for a career is just awesome. So,
It is. You're right. It is something that's extremely fun. It's something that it's a dream job. It doesn't even feel like a job because you're enjoying it just as much as you are calling the games, and it's a different skill set. And you're right. Tom Brady doesn't need to be in the booth. He doesn't need the money, but he loves doing it. He loves being connected to the sport of football. And props to Tom Brady for doing it because instead of now keeping those secrets to himself, he's got to share them with everybody.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it's always fun listening to him talk like when there's a quarterback who makes a certain play, like even this past week with Eagles Chiefs. He always has something to comment on after every play because he knows the game better than anybody. Like if there's anybody that you need to learn the game of football from, it's Tom Brady, clearly,
Yeah.
because not only is he the GOAT, but he was a smart player too. Like I remember when he was still playing, I saw this thing that said he showed up to a meeting with the cornerbacks and all the defensive players. I think it was when he was with the Patriots because he wanted to see how a defense approaches an offense. So he can say, okay, well if the corner is thinking this, then I have to outsmart him by doing this. Like he's kind of getting inside the head of the defense or the opponent, which I thought was brilliant.
I agree. I mean, that's what makes him the GOAT is not just the physical, but the mental, because he wants to learn and know everything. He doesn't take anything off, anything for granted. I love the fact that even during practice, he even said that we might see this play maybe once or twice, but he wanted to practice it a lot because he said in the game, I might get the chance to do it once or twice, but I want it to be perfect. And like you said, him studying the defenses and knowing their mindset, that is awesome because you need to know those things. It's one thing not preparing, and he's always prepared.
Oh yeah. And he had to be prepared coming off the bench at Michigan and coming off the bench with the Patriots because if Bledsoe doesn't get hurt or there's certain guys that he beat out at Michigan to be the starting quarterback, he wouldn't have had the career that he had. So he got his chance, and thankfully for him, he delivered. But I think there's about 31 different NFL fan bases that would disagree and say that, they wish that he didn't get that chance because there's a good chance Tom Brady beat, if you're watching this and you're a football fan, he probably beat your team in the Super Bowl because he beat my team twice. So he beat my team twice. He won it 7 times, once with your Bucks. So
Yeah, and that's why I'm lucky. I can say he's the goat because you're right.
yeah,
He hasn't beat my team, but yeah, I mean, you got to give him credit, and he's got a statue now. That's is awesome, and he's earned what he's gotten. He like you said, he had to play and get that opportunity and seize that opportunity, and he ran away with it. Man, he's something special, and knowing and studying, it takes a lot to be an NFL quarterback. Putting in that study time and working and knowledge, like you said, there's nobody I don't think knows more football than Tom Brady.
100%. Um, Speaking of the knowledge of football, we've covered, your status with the UFL. I want to ask you, is there a certain reason or something that inspired you to start the Alan Alford show?
That's a great question, James. I have always had an interest in doing sports commentary and interviews, and it started off small. It was just me and a friend. It was at that time it was called the Alan and Aaron Sports Talk Show. We started a podcast together, and when we did it, I was like, you know what, I love this. But we needed to get better as time goes on because you want to get better guests and just look better, sound better. I had always have always been a sports guy. I always loved sports, not just baseball. I've loved football, and I was like, you know what, I should just keep continue to do this. Aaron kind of got tied up with work and things, and I still had the passion to keep doing it. And then before you know it, it just became the Alan Alford Sports Talk Show, and it's been a real blessing. Props to all the athletes and all of the opportunities I've gotten. It's been a blessing, even with assists, and it just gets better and better and better. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. What year did you start the show?
5 years ago, 2020, it started. 2020 is when I first started the Alan and Aaron Sports Talk Show, and the Alan Alfred Sports Talk Show came about a year and a half after, and it's been awesome. It's been really really a fun ride, and hopefully with God bless me with the opportunity to be doing it full time.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, that's what I'm aiming for with the James Torrillo show and with the JT Sports Network, all that. That's what you're aiming for, and it's a blessing to have the chance to do that for sure. So, um, is there a specific guest, like a dream guest you could have on your show if you got to pick?
Wow, there's a few. I would love to have Michael Jordan, somebody like that come on. Derek Jeter, he's always welcome,
Yeah,
and so those will be some great. Tom Brady's always welcome. I haven't actually got a chance to interview him. I got a chance to meet him, take a picture, but I didn't get a chance to interview him. Tom Brady's always open, and I don't mind doing some of those big guys, but at the same token, I don't mind doing a smaller person too that has a great story. And but those are off the top of my head. Those are some, and I wouldn't mind doing a NASCAR, as well too. So, Bubba Wallace.
yeah. Have you had any special guests on your show in the past, like any big names or anything like that?
I've had, we had the blessing of Dal Strawberry was actually our very first guest that I've had.
Really?
That was a big time name. Yep, when it was the Alan and Aaron Sports Talk Show. That's how I knew that this was possible because it was kind of early in our show development, like when yours started, and one thing led to another, and then this opportunity that we got a chance to interview Dal Strawberry. So props to Dal Strawberry. He was my first like kind of like celebrity guest.
Yeah,
That was awesome. Yeah.
that's sick. That's
Yeah.
sick. Now, this was when the show was first starting, you
Yeah.
said? Like
It
one of
was
the
it
first
was it,
episodes?
it was like, God gave us a blessing, and it was one of our first episodes was with Darryl Strawberry, and it just worked out, and it just if I had to do it again, I probably couldn't do it again. I mean, I've actually kept in contact with Dow Strawberry, and me and him are cool and everything. But if I had to plan it, I couldn't have planned it. It just
Right.
the opportunity kind of presented itself, and and at first I was like, this can't really be like the real Dow Strawberry. But when I got a chance, when he hopped on, within the first 10 seconds, I knew it was him. His voice,
Yeah.
yeah, and it just goes to show you that if you are watching this show and you're starting off a podcast, opportunity sometimes can just present itself. Take advantage of it, and sometimes when you have God's blessing, things will just doors will just open up for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's awesome. That's incredible. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people watching? Anything you'd like to promote, your show, anything like that?
Yes, if you guys would be so kind to follow the Alford Sports Talk show, that's you see the definitely on Instagram or YouTube. Definitely would appreciate it. It's a real honor to be on your show as the first as the James Torrillo show. So that is a real blessing, and stay connected because I love to do a lot of different events and Gigi's Playhouse, Tampa. I got to give them credit because I'm going to be the EMC for their event 4 years in a row that opened up because of the result of this show, the Allen Alford Sports Talk show,
There you go.
and definitely I'm looking forward to that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, Alan, thank you so much for coming on the James Torrillo Show tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you guys want to follow him, his Instagram is right under his name, right down there. And if you want to follow me, I'm James Torrillo. You can follow the JT Sports Network. You can follow James Torrillo Show on Instagram. You can find us. We're pretty easy to find. You can find us anywhere. So, Alan, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you're always welcome here on the James Torrillo Show.
Likewise. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor and a blessing. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.